Father Wesley Evans at St. Stephen's Episcopal Church, and I'm going to start answering questions this October about weird stuff and Christianity. And the first little video I have for you today, we're going to talk a little bit about cherubim. I like talking about cherubim. Now, when you think about cherubim, you might be thinking of cherubs. A cherub, right? Cherubim, im, and the im ending is just plural in Hebrew. You're probably thinking of something a little like this, right? A cherub, these little pudgy babies with wings. Well, I want you to get that completely out of your mind. That has nothing to do with biblical cherubim at all. Biblical cherubim are way cooler and way stranger in the way they're described than anything that Renaissance art ever did. Cherubim is a word that seems to appear in other cultures of the Bible. Cherubim, something like that. I've learned Hebrew, not Akkadian. You'll have to forgive me. It seems to be something that was in these surrounding cultures and a type of creature that was depicted in different ways. In fact, when I was at an art exhibit in Fort Worth, they had a statue of two creatures that were animal-human hybrids, which is a common theme through the cherubim in Ezekiel chapter 1 and 10 is animal-human hybrids, guarding a date tree of life. Yes, a very similar idea to what is in Genesis, when a cherubim guards the Garden of Eden and the tree of life. So when you think about the cherubim, don't think about the little cutesy babies with wings, but Ezekiel chapter 1 and chapter 10 describe these strange cyclopean monster creatures that are sort of have four heads. One head is a man, and one is an eagle, and one is an ox, and one is a lion. Some Christian tradition calls them tetramorphs for that reason, four forms, what that means. And they've got these wheels within wheels underneath them, and they've got all these wings covered in eyes. Yeah, the wheels and the wings covered in eyes. This is straight up Lovecraftian, okay? If you're not familiar with Lovecraft, he was a fairly famous fantasy horror sci-fi writer in the 1920s. A lot of his ideas are found in all sorts of fantasy stuff. Think of something like that, some kind of crazy, wild, absolutely other. That's what they are. They are absolutely other, and they are weird and they are strange. Four heads, wings, wheels within wheels, all covered in eyes everywhere. Absolutely weird and strange. Well, what do they do? Well, they seem to guard sacred stuff. So in Genesis, they guard the Garden of Eden. And then in Ezekiel, they also hoist up God's chariot. Okay, it's kind of on God's throne. We see similar images of half-human kind of animal hybrid creatures fulfilling these roles throughout the ancient Near East, the cultures that surrounded ancient Israel. And they do the same thing, like I mentioned, guarding the date tree of life. Or we have found them on thrones, like in Ezekiel chapter 10, where God is on the throne and these things are kind of underneath him. They are God's throne in a sense. And so we found these throughout the ancient Near East. A little fun fact that means, by the way, that when we talk about cherubim, conceptually, the Egyptian Sphinx is a cherubim. Yeah, it really is, largely. It's an animal-human hybrid guarding something sacred, in this case, the tomb of the pharaohs. But it's a very similar idea, actually. So when you see the Sphinx, that could be a giant cherubim in a certain way. But in Ezekiel, they are weirder. They've got, again, the wheels and the eyes and everything. They are absolutely crazy. But that's what they seem to do in the Bible. They seem to be sort of guardians, really powerful guardians of sacred stuff. But also holding up God's throne. And that's what's cool in Ezekiel. So imagine, if you will, again, these Lovecraftian, almost cyclopean monster creatures with four heads and wings with eyes all over them. And Ezekiel sees one of them, right, tearing through the clouds coming towards him. And then Ezekiel sees not one of these things, but three more, right? Four of these cyclopean level, powerful, multi-headed creatures covered in eyes, heading right towards him. They're absolutely terrifying. And then Then in Ezekiel chapter 10, something even cooler. Ezekiel notices there's something else above them. Yahweh, the Lord of hosts, God, who uses these creatures, these strange, multi-headed, Lovecraftian, cyclopean, terrifying creatures as pets to hoist him on his throne so that Yahweh, the Lord of hosts, doesn't have to walk because he's king. You understand, this is a vision of God's absolute power. This is like you're walking down a dark alley, right? And you see this large dog, giant, huge, what is it, the Pomeranian dog or whatever, the Pyrenees dogs. I think those are the big ones. I'm a cat person, not a dog person. You'll have to forgive me. Large dog covered in rippling muscles and giant teeth. And then you see there are 3 more, and there are these 4 dogs walking toward you. And then you see the owner casually right behind them, perhaps being pulled by them on some kind of chariot. And he commands these dogs, and they obey whatever he desires. That's what Ezekiel sees in the cherubim. These really strange, absolutely other, incomprehensible. I mean, this is bringing terror to the human mind to see them. And then they're God's pets. They hoist God on his throne. They guard a door if God wants them to guard them. Yahweh, the Almighty, is absolute and powerful. That's what the emblem of the cherubim are. But beyond that, the cherubim are just really strange creatures who seem to guard these sort of sacred stuff. They're not little babies. They're not cutesy things. So now you, after seeing this video, when you think about cherubs and you're imagining something like this, you can forget about it, because that's not what the cherubim in the Bible look like at all. Not pudgy little babies with wings, but cyclopean, terrifying, multi-headed creatures covered in eyes and wings and wheels, and it's really, really strange. So, interesting little thing if you want to have fun with that. If you think of decorating your house at some point with cherubim, and you can make little statues of strange creatures with 4 heads and eyes all over them, and when your neighbor walks in and says, why is your house decorated with these things? You can say, they're just from the Bible. So there you go. So anyway, that's a quick thing. I didn't want to take a lot of time just to talk about cherubim. Let me know what other questions you have. I've already had a few come in to ask about ghosts and spirits and weird stuff in the Bible, where they appear. The Witch of Endor is going to be on the list of videos. I think there are a couple of others. So if you have any questions on angels or demons or weird stuff in relating to Christianity or the Bible, please let me know. And through October, I will be answering your questions. So thank you, and God bless.